Hi guys, I hope you're having an amazing day. In this video I want to talk about why in 2026, even though the R6 Mark III is out, I decided to go against the YouTube flow, the YouTube propaganda some may say, and buy another R6 Mark II instead. I made this video because I think that this philosophy of always having the latest and greatest gear is overrepresented on this platform. And I will try to make a case why that approach really didn't make sense for my situation and perhaps make you rethink your own situation as well. Let's start off by unboxing my brand new yet older R6 Mark II. So here we go, let's do a quick unboxing. I'm gonna take that out of the way. Alright, we got some advertisement for the app, user's manual, the charger, the battery, the charging cable, and a strap which will probably never get out of that, so I'll just put it back in. And there it is, my new Canon R6 Mark II. I'm excited. Let's see. Oh yeah. Boom. There it is. Wow, that looks awesome. I can immediately tell that my camera doesn't look that new anymore. When I look at those side by side. You know, over the past few years of buying cameras, I've noticed a few things. And I was scared of one of those, which is that if I was to buy a camera model that was already released, that I would feel like I was buying some dinosaur technology. So that was one of my fears, and I'm really happy to say that it doesn't feel like I'm buying some dinosaur technology at all. Which brings me to the next point, which is that I've also noticed over the past few years of buying Canon cameras that if you just buy something that was released at the same time but a different model, or you just jump from one model of camera to the next generation, like let's say jump from the R6 to the R6 Mark II, the difference between those cameras isn't that big. Like the original R6, yes, you get 4 megapixels bump in resolution, you get 4K 60 frames per second oversampled from 6K instead of the original R6 where you would get it from 5.1K. But if you look at the image itself, it's not really that big of a difference. And also that is the exact same thing that I noticed when looking at some reviews comparing the R6 Mark II to the R6 Mark III, the latest one. And that left me thinking that maybe 900 euros of difference for a very similar image, both in photography and in video. And yes, of course, the R6 Mark III has a few very useful extra features like shooting internal RAW and open gates and C-Log 2, huge difference. But still, when I just look at the image side by side, this is still a very good image. It's still very high quality, it's still very beautiful colors, and so it left me thinking that maybe the price difference isn't worth it. The reason why I needed a second full-frame camera is because I've been shooting more weddings recently. I happened to enjoy them, and I offer hybrid packages, which means both photo and video at the same time. And the first few weddings that I did a few years ago, they were all like hybrid packages. And so I naturally had a camera that could do both, the R6 Mark II, and a second camera for a second angle, the R7, which could do video very well. But the R7 can't do photo very well. This autumn, when I got booked for a wedding to shoot for photography only, then it occurred to me for the first time that I couldn't go there to take only photos with one of the cameras being the R7, because I don't like the photos that come out of it, especially when I use full-frame lenses, which is all I have. I only have full-frame lenses. And so I ended up renting an R6 Mark II. And then I had another wedding after that, also last autumn, and I rented it again, and that was about, I think, 120 per weekend, including taxes. So for 2 weddings I spent 240 euros renting the Canon R6 Mark II. And that got me thinking that in like 15 weddings I would have already spent enough money on renting cameras that I could have actually bought the R6 Mark II, just that I didn't buy it. I would have spent it only on renting it. And that's why this year, before the wedding season starts, I already have my first wedding that I'm booked for in less than 4 weeks now. I thought that I should buy another full-frame camera. This was the purpose of this, to have another angle when shooting video and to have two full-frame cameras when shooting photo. Now, I thought about it a lot, and if I was to get the R6 Mark III, I would have spent 900 euros more on the body alone, but then I would also spend 200 euros more on 2 extra batteries, because if I use these old batteries on the R6 Mark III, then it has limitations on what codecs you can use, but also it has a CF Express type B slot, and I don't have any of those cards. I only have SD card slots, because that's what I need for the cameras that I use right now. So I had another, I don't know, 250, 300 euros on top of that, and it was then getting to 3,500 versus this was right now on Easter discount sale, on the Easter sale for 1,999. Another advantage of having two of the same cameras is that you don't have to make any tweaks, no matter how minor they might be, when you're editing photos between them. Another thing that I considered was getting the R6 instead of the R6 Mark II. But with that camera, I was worried about two things. First of all is overheating when I wanted to shoot 4K 60. And second of all, that the colors have changed a little bit between the R6 and the R6 Mark II. And so that would mean more work in editing for me. And so that's how I came to the idea that another Canon R6 Mark II was the perfect solution for me. Now I also thought about the long run, and another thing that I would get in the future is an actual dedicated cinema camera. I've wanted that for a few years, but this, for the kind of work that I do, these hybrid cameras have made more sense, they do work better. And right now I'm using the R7 as a video camera only, and I'm thinking for the future I would need a camera that if I'm booked to only shoot video for a wedding, for example, I would use my cinema camera for that. But when that time comes, which might be next year or it might be in 2 years, then I would have had time to save enough money to upgrade, let's say, 2 or 3 cameras to the new generations, which would be all filming C-Log 2, plus get a dedicated video camera that also films C-Log 2, and then they would match better. But for now, if I was to get a camera that shoots C-Log 2, then I would have to either use it only in C-Log 3 or to use it in C-Log 2 and do a lot more work in matching them while also spending more money to begin with. Because there's another thing I don't like now about the R6 Mark III, which is that it doesn't have 2 of the same cards. So it has one SD card, one CF Express. And for the RAW codecs, for example, you can't record that on both cards at the same time. And I'm pretty sure that some little inconveniences like that is what they will solve in the next generation, and instead of always spending some more money to get the few things improved, but a few left out that will be fixed in 2 to 3 years, and maybe if I just jump that, then that would be better financially speaking. I don't think that I am sacrificing that much in terms of image quality, to be fair, because the Canon R6 Mark II produces very sharp video footage in 25 and up to 60 frames per second with no crop, which is great. The photos, 24 megapixels, are for wedding, and also kind of a sweet spot because it doesn't give you very huge file sizes and also doesn't make your computer suffer much, and at the same time gives you plenty of detail that you can crop a little bit to straighten them out and stuff. And so I'm used to this workflow right now. I don't need major cropping. And another thing is that this can actually recover shadows better than the R6 Mark III because of the lower megapixel count. So it has bigger pixels, so it can gather more light and produce a bit cleaner shadows. But that's pixel peeping. I don't think that matters in the real world anyways. Just wanted to put it out there. So yeah, this is the update about why I got the R6 Mark II instead of the R6 Mark III. I have said in a few previous videos, like when I compared the 70-200 2.8 and the f4, that maybe for some people it's a better idea to get the f4 and use the extra money on something else, like advertisement or on some other expenses, business expenses. But I had only gotten the 2.8 versions myself. So now I feel like I'm kind of putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm not getting the latest and greatest. I'm just trying to evaluate what's the best option overall, and that's what I did. I didn't get the latest and greatest, but I got a really solid camera. Let me know in the comments below what are your thoughts on this topic. What do you think about the Canon R6 Mark III? Are you planning to go for it this year immediately, or are you waiting a few years for the price to drop and you're comfortable with being a bit late to the party, which doesn't sound as cool, but the end product, the video and photos you deliver, which are what matters, are so high quality to the point which they can absolutely be as impactful, as professional and as engaging, even though you're using a camera which is a couple of years old.